It's the bathroom wall of the internet, the hovel of haters and trolls. I'm talking, of course, about the comment section of social media sites. And right now, as the tributes and condolences from politicians roll out online, so do some rather nasty replies. Senator Ted Cruz, Republican of Texas, is one politician in that situation right now. Yesterday, on the news of Nelson Mandela's death, the Texas Republican wrote of his respect and admiration for the anti-apartheid icon. Nelson Mandela, he wrote, will live in history as an inspiration for defenders of liberty around the globe. Lovely sentiments. More than 5,000 people liked that comment, but not all of Cruz's Facebook followers agreed. He was a murderer and a communist. Why are you inspired by this, Ted? Wrote one. Another, what about the rampant white genocide because of South Africans' freedom? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. You get the point. And another writes, Stalin, Hitler, Pol Pot, Mao, and FDR are also dead. They don't deserve a positive eulogy either. Let's bring in our panel. President of the Center for American Progress, Neera Tanden, CNN political contributor and Republican strategist Ana Navarro, and CNN political contributor and Washington correspondent for The New Yorker, Ryan Lizza. Anna, we reached out to Cruz's office. They rightly point out that you can find hateful stuff on the White House's Facebook page as well about Mandela. One writing, Mandela was a well-mannered demon in the flesh. And that Cruz's comments got more likes on his page than Obama's got on that page. But is this something we should even be paying attention to, or is this just the bathroom wall of the internet?
I think, frankly, we shouldn't be paying attention to it. Let's hold Ted Cruz, let's hold people on Facebook, on Twitter accountable for what they say, not for what followers say. Because also, let's keep in mind that not all followers are friends, or, some may be enemies. And look, you tweet, we all tweet. You can tweet the earth is round and get hateful trolls saying terrible things.
Oh, no, I know.
So this is an absolutely impossible debate.
No, I'm not implying in any way Ted Cruz is responsible for what people at all write on his Facebook page. Not at all. I think what's interesting about it, if anything, is the fact that these are conservatives upset with Ted Cruz, and that doesn't happen very often.
How do you know they're conservatives? How do you know they're not liberals pretending to be conservatives?
I guess it's possible.
You don't know.
They could be,
on Twitter and on Facebook?
They could be trolls.
You don't know who that little egg is.
If they were liberals, I think they'd feel really badly about attacking Nelson Mandela for whatever political purpose.
There's some nasty liberals out there.
They're definitely there. I'm not saying that there's no haters on either side, but I do think I want to applaud Ted Cruz for what he said. It was really remarkable remarks about Nelson Mandela, and that's really important. And there was a lot of bipartisan support. I think the larger issue versus these trolls versus non-trolls, et cetera, is really that. It's not like Nelson Mandela wasn't controversial. He did get a lot of conservatives attacking him over the years, and the anti-apartheid movement had its conservative critics in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. But what's important now is that he is embraced by both sides. And despite the extremism on the right, I think we should celebrate the fact that there are so many conservatives who are applauding his fight against apartheid now.
Ryan, I wonder if one of the problems is that when we do these funerals and obituaries, we canonize these people instead of acknowledging that there were shameful moments in the ANC's past and that Nelson Mandela said nice things about Fidel Castro and freedom in Cuba that are demonstrably false, and that maybe because we bend over so backwards to show respect, that creates an opening.
Look, if there's anyone in...
You disagree.
If there's anyone in modern history... Maybe,
I do too, but
look, if there's anyone in...
I'm just saying.
We all agree, I think, that if there's anyone in modern history or world history that deserves sort of to be put on a pedestal, it's Nelson Mandela.
Sure,
there are
of
few
course.
historical figures,
anything
anything like him, right?
Right.
But I think that on both sides there is this danger of sort of writing out of history some of the controversial, parts of his life that made him a great leader, that made him able to end apartheid in that country. It was, he took some very strong ideological stands that are controversial to this day. And conservatives were on the wrong side of history on a lot of these issues in the 70s, 80s. Ted Cruz doesn't have to worry about that. He's in his early 40s. He didn't really have to pay attention to those debates.
What's extraordinary about Mandela is that his life's evolution. He started off as a militant, then he was a political prisoner, and then he became the national leader that shepherded his country through reconciliation.
Right.
And he only served one term.
Let me just...
These things are connected, right? It's not like he ended his militancy. He always fought hard for freedom.
Well,
and that
but he was a pacifist. By the time he left prison, which is extraordinary. That somebody that was treated that way had no rank.
It seems like you want to say something.
I just want to bring it.
Go ahead, Jake. This is your show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. There's been a couple interesting moments of punditry from the last 24 hours. Here's MSNBC's Chris Matthews talking about how the last apartheid president, F.W. de Klerk, worked with Mandela after his release from prison.
For him to recognize his role in history, which was to be a patriot, at that point, is so different than the way Mitch McConnell handled the election of Obama.
And here's former Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum comparing the fight against apartheid in South Africa to the battle over Obamacare.
He was fighting against some great injustice. And I would make the argument that, you know, we have a great injustice going on right now in this country with an ever-increasing size of government that is taking over and controlling people's lives. And Obamacare is front and center in that.
Ryan, what gives, man?
You know, they're like, I think we have to add apartheid.
F.W. de Klerk, such a better person than Mitch McConnell.
We have to add apartheid to that list of issues that you just shouldn't compare to modern American politics,
right.
like
Nazism, slavery, apartheid.
Apartheid. There are some issues that were unique historically, and that no matter how bad you think things are in American politics right now, the comparisons are never going to be apt.
I'm pretty sure that Nelson Mandela supported universal health care. So I think the comparison, like the Pope, I think the comparison is kind of...
Well, I would tell you this. I think neither side should be using the dead man, the deceased man who we're honoring, to make cheap political shots against the
all agree
enemy.
with that. Amen to that. Anna, Ryan.
He did stand for positions, though. We should
Yeah, he stood for all your positions for none of us.
Anna,
All right.
Neera,
Did you hear
Ryan.
me?
You guys can continue in the green room. Coming.